Hey everyone, welcome back to the OnBase podcast. I'm your host, Chris Moody, and today we are thrilled to have Craig Chiofalo with us to discuss key strategies for building a world-class support engineering team. Craig, thanks for joining us today and welcome to the show.
Hey, Chris, it's great to be here. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you again. We're usually together in big corporate settings for RKOs or something like that, but we haven't talked a ton about your journey, Craig. So tell everyone, how did you get into customer support and engineering?
Okay. Yeah. So it's interesting because I'd always been interested in technology, computers, taking things apart, working on my car, things of that nature. And, with the advent of, some really exciting technology, say 25 years ago, it's hard to believe. I found myself having an interview with IBM. I was pretty excited about that. And I started with the software group, and I'm based out of Atlanta. And so I started working at IBM, got to work with a team that I would say dealt with a lot of new upcoming technologies. So it'd be different softwares. And if that software started to do well, they would put a team around it. So I'm doing this for years. And then what they call a rotational assignment opportunity came up. And that was to travel to New York and work with the team there. And so I interviewed for that, and I was lucky enough to make it into that program. And so I spent about 7 months working with, this is a really long name, but it was the University Relations Intellectual Property Office. And so this was, I'd say sponsored research and just the sharing of patents. So a course consortium of different companies that not every patent that a company produces is for profit. So that was very exciting. But what was really neat about it was not only did I get to work on some amazing projects, but I got to work with a lot of really cool people and a lot of really neat research at different universities. And so I was exposed to even more exciting things in the world of software. And so I come back from that. I had an opportunity to become a first line manager. So I had my first team, and this was the advent of collaborative software where you can do things in a product and actually see it on the screen somewhere, out in a different state, So it was very exciting. And at the same time, I think the environment was changing so much. Products were, we were just pushing things out. There's a lot going on. I got to work with a lot of really great customers. And then, impacted by the recession, like a lot of folks. But it worked out really well in the sense that I got to go to a company called Silverpop, which was email marketing. So I've from that point on, it's always been, primarily some type of marketing technology. But I go to this company, really fantastic opportunity. And I'll talk more about some of the things that we're doing today that I think started in that team. But about 4 years later, we get acquired by IBM. So I go back to IBM essentially and became, when I left IBM in around 2017, I was the global program director for what that product had evolved into. And from that point on, I've always been with companies that are in that high growth phase. So Atlanta, like what I mentioned where I'm from, so a lot of really cool companies here, right? So I worked at CallRail, I worked at Calendly. And then from there, I went to a company in Boston called Salsify. And, the pandemic hit, and that was a really, that company, it has an application that helps brands get their product information to, say, Walmart or Amazon. So you can imagine that was a pretty big, busy time to be there. And then this week actually wraps up, 4 years here at Demandbase. So I'm super excited about that. And that's it. It's a lot, 25 years of a lot of really great times.
Awesome. Well, happy anniversary, first of all.
Thank you.
4 years is a great mark. I will be at 3 before too long. So, really cool. I'd love to learn more about your team and the uniqueness of your team at Demandbase. And also, if you could cover how your team's contributing to the success of our customers and our company.
Okay. So, you'll hear folks say this, but this team is phenomenal. I mean, I've worked with a lot of different teams. I've been an individual contributor on teams. I've led teams. This team, hands down, from end to end, everybody is phenomenal. The way they collaborate, their focus, their tenure, the knowledge that they have of the product and the customers that they work with is just outstanding. But, we are post-sale, so customer comes on board, and, maybe they have a question about, how to use a feature in the product and want clarification. Maybe they have a challenge that they run into and they come to us. So when I first joined, it was a very small team. The company was growing, and we sat down and we put together a list of all the skills that would, be required, for this job. And so that we could rewrite the job descriptions, because we wanted to bring in the right candidates, but we also wanted them to be successful in the role. And so we put this together. We went through the interview process with folks. We actually did testing on this. We wanted to make sure that everybody could do what they were signing up to do. And, over time, this team has grown. It's not a huge team. I think because of some of the technology that I can talk about, we've been able to, not have to just continuously grow. We've built tooling to make our jobs a lot easier. So I can talk about some of the tech if you'd like me to.
Yeah, we're going to dive into tech too. But first, you have a pretty awesome recognition that is timed very close to your anniversary. Your team's hard work and dedication. 2 years in a row, you have earned the Silver Stevie Award for Customer Service Department of the Year in the computer software space. Yeah. So first, congratulations, Craig. Thank you. I'd love to understand, what does it take to achieve such a prestigious honor year after year?
Yeah, so there are roughly 2,000 applicants for various categories in the software in space for this particular Stevie Award. But every year we continue to add on to processes and technology and growing the team's skills. And so we wrote up a nomination that describes some of the things that we've added on over the years. So we've, as you mentioned, we've won it 2 years in a row. The first year we won bronze. So it's 3 years back to back of an award. But we talked about, what are some of the technology that we are adding? What are some of the processes that we've put in place? How are we actually growing some of the skills that we have? And it's been really interesting because I think a lot of the things that we did just last year and the things that we currently have on the roadmap for this year really couldn't have happened if the first couple of years, processes hadn't been in place. So it's an incremental change. And I think we have some even more exciting things that we're going to do for this year as well.
Cool. I love that. And, for the leaders who are listening and they're hoping to build an outstanding support engineering team, what's the advice that you would give them? And what do you think's been most critical to your success? Okay.
So I know that every company has things that are unique to them. There's different software, there's different dynamics, different, requirements and agreements that they have with their customers. So depending on what stage you're in, you definitely need to start with hiring the right folks, making sure that you have a really solid way to train them. You need to make sure that you have the technology that you need. We moved off of a platform onto Salesforce Service Cloud. And that process there enabled us to do a lot of the great things that we've been doing over the last couple of years. I think this is our third year on there. Like for the current year, we're adding the Einstein Service Cloud capability. And I'll touch on some of the AI, things that we're going to get out of that. But I would say making sure you have the right team in place, make sure you have the right technology to support you. And I can go into some of that technology now if you'd like, but you really just need to make sure that you have great leadership as well. And this is very, very important, going back to what I was talking about earlier. Not only is this the best team, it's just a phenomenal team, but the collaboration that we have with product and engineering, customer success and services has just been a game changer. I mean, we work together all day, every day, very, very closely. Everybody's committed to doing what we need to do to make it successful. And I think the relationships that we have across this teams has just been one of the catalysts for how we're able to continue to deliver this type of service.
Yeah, I love that. Let's hit on the tech now. And, I'd really love to understand what are some of your favorite tools and technologies that you're using? And then there might be favorite, well, I'm sure they're all your favorite, but walk us through the tech that's making this happen.
Okay. So if you start just at the base, we have the Salesforce Service Cloud, which I mentioned, that in addition to what we're adding right now, we're currently working on to take advantage of some of the AI technology, and that is the Einstein for Service Cloud add-on, and then service intelligence to allow us to help mine the data that we're collecting, because we're seeing a lot of data, and there's a lot of manual effort behind reviewing that data. But that data is critical to giving really good feedback to other teams to say, hey, customers, they're using this feature, but maybe we could do this to make it more intuitive, or, things of that nature, right? Or maybe we need to focus on our team training around that particular feature to make our time to resolution a lot faster. But this is something too. So we use Salesforce, and then another big component of our success, and I think it's like a really powerful tool as well, is SupportLogic. So we use that to monitor in real time every single comment and activity in those cases, 24 hours a day, to monitor the sentiment. So I could tell that if I were to respond to one of your questions, that maybe you felt you were confused based on your response, or maybe you were frustrated, or maybe you're just really excited about the solution that we provided. We can see that sentiment, and then we can get alerted by that. We can view it in the console very easily. And if you think about the team that has 300 open issues or 500 open issues, it's really hard to monitor that in real time. So that gives us a lot of really good insight into that. And then allows us to be very proactive in how we respond to those things before a customer raises it. It also helps us predict escalations. There's a potential that, hey, we've been going back and forth, we're not getting any closer, and how can we do that? And I think that we see that play out in the customer satisfaction surveys that we receive, and the comments, and then the comments that we receive from the teams that I mentioned a minute ago that hear it from the customers too. So after that, this is really critical. You've got to do this, but this is not the first time. I mentioned, this being a catalyst many years ago for the company I was with, but the team built their own internal full-blown troubleshooting application, right? So, if you look at it, like when you first got your car, say you're in high school, you didn't care what it looked like or how or anything, right? You just had freedom. And after a while, you wanted something nicer. And so instead of having just a bunch of tools or writing SQL or combing through logs, the team built a very easy way for us to just automate that, put in a customer information, and then get back the details that they want. So while everybody in this team has some type of development background, and they can write SQL, and they know and they're very technical, it's why have to do all this from scratch? And that has helped us from having to grow this team exponentially just to keep up with volume. The team can reduce time to resolution sometimes by days, just by being able to just quickly look at things that typically would have taken hours, or maybe a request to another team to get information back. And then, of course, we have all the other tools like Slack and so on.
That's incredible. And look, you mentioned dashboard, predictive monitoring, some things that start to pull us into metrics. I'd love to understand what are the key success metrics that you're using to evaluate your team's performance?
Sure. So, also piggybacking on one of your previous questions, every company has different SLAs, for example, that they're focused on, or things that they really want to focus on for their customers. For us, we have SLAs, but all of us have seen, the automated response, the first response. This team does a really good job of understanding what's going on and manually responding, maybe with a solution or maybe requesting additional information just to confirm that we understand what you're asking. And then this is key. This is our second SLA, and we call it the periodic update. But once your issue has been opened, we need to communicate with you throughout the life of that case at a set cadence, depending on the urgency of the issue, to let you know where we are. So you're not just wondering, when is my car going to get out of the shop, right? Hey, it's going to be tomorrow. Hey, it's going to be the next day. But we communicate that. So those are the first two. And then, of course, our customer satisfaction is more than just how great was the service. We ask, what is your overall satisfaction? What is your level of satisfaction with the individual that worked with you on that issue? And then how easy was it to get support? So it's our customer effort score. And then while those are the main metrics, we track everything. We track so much data, and we use that data to help us make informed decisions or have very educated conversations with whoever it is that we need to about what we're seeing. So, but we try to keep the team just really focused on the issues that they're working on. We monitor those things in addition to SupportLogic and some of the features that we have within Salesforce. We really focus on trying to be proactive and being alerted to things and not having to chase or have fires that pop up. And that has been very effective.
Okay, fires that popped up. You led me. Perfect segue, podcast segue there. Yeah. Every team runs into those fires or obstacles. Yeah. What are the challenges that your team has faced, and how have you approached overcoming them as a leader?
So products evolve, and Demandbase does an outstanding job of continuing to evolve its product and just making sure that the teams are educated on how to troubleshoot that. Of course, we need to understand, how does that feature work? What do we do when it's not, when someone's, confused maybe about a message that they're seeing in the application, or they just have a general, hey, I'm stuck on something. And so this is very exciting. So when we say challenges, this is one of those where I think challenges are very good for teams. I think that helps you continue to grow. And so, I think the team did an excellent job on this. We want to continue to grow the skills for the team. And so instead of just having a method for a person to become, certified as a subject matter expert, taking a multiple choice test or whatever, the team devised a really good program where you show your work, you work on cases for a particular product feature or area of product, and you work cases, you show how you investigated it. Maybe you teach, a tech talk during one of our team huddles, and then you present it to the subject matter experts that review that so that you can become a subject matter expert. This is a very big product. It's unreasonable to expect that someone would be a product area expert across every corner of the product, but we also introduce subject matter specialists. And so that's someone that is very good at it and they're working on it, but that allows someone to still make progress without having maybe going the entire distance to get the subject matter expert certification. So that has helped us tackle the challenge of, how do we continue to grow our product knowledge and help our customers so that we can reduce that time to resolution and just continue to evolve.
That's great. And look, we can't call it a podcast, Craig, unless we say AI a few times. Yeah. You hit on Einstein, but look, every day you and I are both hearing AI. It's a trending topic. I'd love to know how it's influenced your support engineering team so far, and what are the opportunities that you think AI presents moving forward?
Yeah, so AI is very exciting. It's something I use a lot. I worked on a project last year and got even more exposure to it. So I think AI has evolved just even in the last, it's continuing to evolve. I mean, I'm very clear on that, of course, but just in the last 6 months, I mean, how many articles have we seen about the perfect prompt and this and that? You sit down and you can't remember what you're supposed to do. But I'm seeing really great progress and I guess an evolution of how AI, we're spending less time worrying about the prompt and just more time just doing and getting help. So for example, I think you have to think of AI as an assistant. So the analogy that I use is that you can have a sink full of dishes that you wash by hand, or you can put them into a dishwasher, right? You still have to load it and you still have to unload it. So it's not automating the process from end to end. And so if you think about, like, on our phone, we can ask for time and temperature or any other number of things like directions, right? And have our hands full. And so I think it's important to be thinking about AI as a way to assist you in doing things that you're doing. And you don't even just have to focus on common tasks. It could be, if you were to open up a support case with me and you're having a problem with a particular, feature, and I know that you provided that case to the team, but you didn't give us some key elements. But we know every single time we help a customer with that particular issue, we always have to know these 3 things. You can use AI to request that information if it's missing, right? And so you can be very prescriptive about how you do it. And I think, don't bite off more than you can chew by trying to automate everything from end to end. Sure, depending on the product that you have or your company, there may be some things that, hands down, every single time you just read this knowledge base article and that'll solve the issue. You can fix it yourself. sometimes there are issues you can't fix yourself. And so we need key pieces of information that we can then go and do what we need to do to get you back on the road. And so I think if you're just very methodical about what you do and don't try to do everything under the sun, but just be very focused on it and continue to grow that and just look at it as an assistant. So for example, you can be in your, Gmail. You can, use Gemini to summarize a very long email if you want to. And, those things are very helpful. I think there's a lot of tools out there that do very similar things today. But it's not doing everything for you. It's just aiding you.
Yep. Love that. Love that. Well, we have a couple quick hitters before our time's done today, Craig. The first, we call it good reads. It's a little misleading though. It could be book, blog, newsletter, podcast, video, anything. What are some of your favorites there?
So, it's interesting because there are a lot of things that I do. So Harvard Business Review, of course, I get the daily updates and then also subscribe to that. But MIT, the Technology Review, is hands down one of my favorites. Sloan School of Management. But what I like about the MIT Technology Review is I feel like it has a lot of bite-sized information, especially AI focused, of course, but it's more applicable, I guess. Whereas the Sloan School of Management is great, but sometimes it's very big. There's some topics there that are not really in my wheelhouse right now. But then, I got to do, any kind of newsletter. McKinsey is a big one. There's a lot of really good podcasts that they do actually around AI. You got to carve out time to read or listen to those things. It's really important. Of course, I read a lot of books like most folks in this industry. Podcasts. Yeah.
Great suggestions. We'll put those on our list. What about good people? Who is the most inspiring to you in the B2B space?
So obviously you've had our CEO on, and I know Kelly has been on as well. But going back to an earlier comment I made, of course this team is phenomenal, but it's the combination of the teams that we work with internally. So customer success, services, product and engineering. So, Umberto, would be a great guest if you've not had him on. Angel Strommeyer would be great. Erica would be a good one as well. I think it would be great to have some folks on that are behind the scenes that are helping making the company and my team successful.
It's a great suggestion. I will definitely line those up. All enjoyable people to speak with too. Yeah. And then last of all, the most important question, Craig, how can folks get in touch with you after this podcast?
LinkedIn. Yeah, the perfect way to do it.
All right. Outstanding. Well, you crushed it today. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Chris.